Hi there, welcome to Transformer Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2023 Crossroads Zingers 292RE. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera. If you'd like to set up with that, you can contact the parts department. They can put together a quote for you. Then you get your ladder, so you can go check up on your seals periodically. You got your spare tire. And then of course you got your cable satellite inlets as well, right at the back. Also in this back corner is this rear bumper cap. Pulling that off, you've got one on either side. It's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We currently have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, so that's why there's not one here yet. Bumper cap just pulls on and presses into place like so. Next, you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Just take a note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Press that firmly into place. 8th turn to lock it down, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in. Let's say you got the unit at home on your driveway, or your campsite only has 15 amp service, which is your standard household outlet. We do include that adapter for you to go down in power, but just keep it in mind when you're using 15 amps of power, it's not to run your air conditioner. Realistically, it's just to run your fridge, your lights, and charge up your battery. So just be mindful of that whenever you are using it. Come a little further down the unit. You do have your range hood flap. You got little tabs on either side. You slide it in place, and that'll allow you to open up that vent lid, so that whenever you do run your range hood, it's evacuating those fumes. And then whenever you're done, just flipping the tabs over, closing that up. That way, whenever you're traveling, you're not getting any excess dust inside the unit. Got your furnace exhaust, so whenever that's on, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Right up from there, you do get your hot water service port. This is a tankless system, so if you've had a camper before with a tanked water heater, you probably remember if you did the winterizing yourself, you had bypass valves on the back of the water heater. This one shouldn't have any, and if it does, you don't touch them. You do run antifreeze through the system, and once you're completely done winterizing for the season, just cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. That way, once that antifreeze gels up, it has a place to go. Whenever you're pressing it into place, just making sure you got the rubber little gasket in place. Furnace exhaust, just went over that. And now right down below, you got your main furnace output. You're taking and twisting this knob. Sorry, your sewer outlet. You're just taking note of those ears there. Those are the same ears your sewer hose is gonna have. They just line up with the cap, like the notches, like so. Once they're all lined up, they'll twist and lock into place. And you got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. You kind of got your water area. You got your fresh tank fill, so whenever you're out boondocking or your campsite doesn't have water, put a garden hose in here, turn it on, and that's what fills your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Then you got your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And then you do have a black tank flush, so the way that works is thread a garden hose in there, turn it on, flushes that tank out, keeping things that little bit cleaner. It helps with false monitor panel readings, or if you're just noticing an odor around the unit, just always making sure you do read the caution sticker, just letting you know that you have to have your sewer connected and your black tank valve open. Reason being is if you're pushing pressure into the tank and the pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand the tank to the point of cracking. So just be mindful of that. You got your outside shower, standard 751 key to open that up. It should come included with the unit. Pop that guy open, hot and cold water at a swivel head shower. Right down below the floor, you got your fresh tank drain, so pulling that guy open like so would drain all the water out of your fresh tank. Inside the front compartment here, pulling this guy out. This is your starter kit. That's where you're gonna find that 10-foot sewer hose, which I've already told you about. A 15-foot water hose, your 15 amp park adapter, and then just some other miscellaneous goodies. You got your front tongue jack override. Coming around the front front of the unit, you got your battery located inside this box here. And then of course you got your battery disconnect switch. So with the power on, obviously the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn that to power off or your battery removal option, it disconnects the battery from the unit. Opening up these couple tabs here allow you to open that guy up. Typically you can do everything you need to do just from right up top here, but let's say one of those tanks goes empty, and for the purpose of the video I'll just slide that right out of place. Add a selector valve right on the front of your regulator with it pointed this way. You can be drawing off this tank counterclockwise all the way to open up the flow of propane to the unit. Now if this tank were to go dry, you can turn this tank off, flip it over to the other side, and you can take this one off and we'll get it filled up. Manual override for the tongue jack right up the top here. On, off for the light, up and down, press the button. Coming around this side here, again, just the other side of that storage compartment, it does come right through. You got this long bar here. What I'm going to point out is you got your electric stabilizer jacks, but if those were to ever fail for whatever reason, you got this manual override. You can come over to this side, works the same way front and rear. Slide it over top of that shaft right over here, locks in place, and you can manually run those jacks up and down if you ever had to for whatever reason. Now, this is, I guess, how you're going to be using the jacks usually. So I'm going to mention this now. They are stabilizing jacks, not leveling jacks. So try not to use them as leveling jacks, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. Whenever you're using them, pushing and holding that extend button. Sometimes the feet could come down at different paces just because it's an open gear system. Just let it do its thing and they'll both come down eventually. You're going to see them both starting to make their way down now. And you're going to see this one is coming down before the other. But you'll see that other one just starts coming down on its own once this one makes contact. You heard those guys wind up. That's all you're going to want to go. You're nice and stable now. Works the same way with the ones in the rear. Then just retracting them. As simple as holding that retract button. The feet are going to start making their way up. And once they're both all the way up, you're going to hear the motors wind up again, and that's when you can let off the button. And you're all the way back up. Coming a little further ahead, you got a couple of regular household outlets here. Coax outlet in case you were to put a TV outside. And a nice leash latch in case you have any animals with you. You got your rear stabilizer jack button at the back here. You're going to notice this hole goes all the way right through. It's going to use the same tool as your stabilizer jacks, and that's just a manual override for the slide out again in case the electric option were to fail for whatever reason. Get inside the unit. We're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up, holding it 90 degrees, and locking it in place. That'll allow you to open the door. You do if you have your door open all the way, get your stairs to fold down, getting the stairs to fold down, twisting that yellow arm. As you pull those stairs towards you, you're going to start coming down. You do have adjustable feet. I'm just having to take these pins out and put them in the corresponding holes so you can have nice and little stairs for your campsite needs. Taking a step up on its side, up on your left is that fire extinguisher. It's going to be just like home. Pull the pin, point, and shoot. Up on the wall, it's your main monitor panel system. This light 3 is going to turn on the main living space lights. Then you got your slide out buttons. Pushing and holding those buttons down will allow the slide outs to make their way out. Always making sure you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out, before you operate them. The only reason I say that is because sometimes things do tend to shift during travel. So always being mindful and watching whenever you're running your slide outs out, just making sure you're not going to run them into anything. And once you hear that clicking like so, you know the slide out's fully extended. Same goes for the one on the other side. You're gonna have 2 awnings on this unit here. We are just gonna operate the one, so you know how to operate it. It's gonna be the wrong one. Once the awning starts making its way out, once it's at full extension, you're gonna see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes that little flap can get stuck, so you just have to retract it and put it back out for it to allow itself to roll down. Unfortunately, today we're not gonna be able to get it all the way out. But I'll be able to show you that you can take any arm front or rear if it were to start raining. Pushing and pinching in these 2 tabs will then allow you to change the pitch of the awning head, which now allows water to roll off. It also allows for more shade underneath. So you could do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure you do put the arms back to their original holes before you go and bring that awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And of course, when they are fully extended, it is a lot easier to use them. Coming back inside, you got your monitor panel system. Works pretty simple. It's going to say you have a gray 2 and an aux. Black and gray 1 are the only 2 hooked up. You push the button, it's going to give you the corresponding level. Same thing for the battery and the fresh. You got your water pump switch that draws out of your fresh tank. You got some awning LED light strips. So when you turn that on, it turns on both light strips on those awnings. And then you got some blue accent lighting that turns on throughout with the light 2 option. Up on the wall here, you got your thermostat for your water heater. So once you turn on the switch that's inside that panel, which I showed you, you can push the power button to turn it on and off, up or down at any time to change your set desired temperature, Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. And you'll see once that goes away, it'll tell you what your current temperature is after that. Next, you're going to notice this switch that says fireplace or AC. You only have 30 amps inside this trailer, so you can only fire one of those at a time. So if you were to want it, if it's a cold day out, you just have to flick the switch to go over to fireplace if you wanted to fire that up. Then of course, if it was hot out, flicking it over to the AC so that stays nice and cool in here. We're going to take a step 1 into the bedroom. Light switch is on the right. Again, some more blue accent lights underneath the bed. The blinds just kind of sit where you leave them in the unit. Storage all around, just always being careful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You got a fire exit inside the main bedroom here. You got your screen. Pulling that, the whole screen is going to pop right out. Then you can take your red handle, pull it up, give it a little push, and you'll be able to hop right out of the unit. On the wall, you got your main GFI plug. You got reset in the middle, test on the left. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. Bed, you got your bed here, lifting that guy up. Got some storage right at the front. You do have an entryway that goes into your bathroom here. You're going to notice this travel strap on the door. Comes on the other side of this door. So this door does swing freely if you didn't have that latch. So whenever you're traveling, always making sure you do have the door strapped into place. That way you're not causing any damage. Same thing goes for this door over here. Now we can take a step on into the bathroom. Light switch again on your right. Turns on all the lights in here. Right above your head, you do have a little vent lid. Lifting that guy open counterclockwise all the way. If you were to start traveling, you always have to make sure you bring this down because you're going to cause some damage to the vent lid if you don't. And if it were to start raining, it is going to get pretty wet inside here. We do sell Max Air covers here at the shop. It's just a cover that goes over top of this vent lid. Keeps things nice and dry in here if it were to start raining. And you can leave it open while traveling without causing any damage to the vent lid. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact your parts department, as there is one in here and there is another one inside the shower as well. Next, you got your shower. Again, noticing you got that travel strap because these are glass, so when you're traveling and they're sliding freely, they can smash. Standard shower, hot and cold water. You got your sink. Always being mindful of drains and water lines whenever you're using the storage again. Last little piece for over here is you got your thermostat on the wall. Works pretty simple. You got your temperature selection, so anywhere you put that is what the room's going to be set to. And then you got your system operation, so it in the off position is obviously off. Turn it over to the heat position. It's going to fire up that furnace. The furnace does only have one fan setting, and it moves all its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit here. There's going to be one in the bedroom, probably a couple in the living space. Then you go over to off, you got fan. So whenever you're in that fan setting, you can have your fan on either high or low. It's just moving air around with the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved. And whenever you are using the fan on the air conditioner, you can run these levers open, in which case it'll dump all its air into the main living space. Or you can close these up and it'll push its air through the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit. You got little air intake vents here. Popping these plastic garnishes off, that'll give you access to those black filters. Sometimes they can get clogged up with dust. So it's always good to take a peek of those every once in a while, blow them off with compressed air if needed. One more switch will get you over to cool. So now that's when the compressor is going to take into place. Whenever you're in the cool setting, you're going to have that auto setting. So that means it turns it into an on-demand system. So the air conditioner is going to kick in and out as needed, depending on what you have your room temperature set to. If you have it on high or low on, the fan does run constantly on the air conditioner. It's not going to kick off. Right down here, got your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever you have a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your corresponding fuses on your right. There'll be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's pop, if one does pop. Storage all throughout this unit. You got your main dinette here, lots of accent lighting, switches for that are just on the walls. If you were to have some guests, this turns pretty simply into a bed. Take this, lift it up, fold the leg in, fold the leg tabletop in, lift the tabletop out of its little holes there. That will allow you to fold that down. You'd have to have these cushions out of the way, of course, to sit the tabletop on its desired ledges. And then you could take the back cushions to fill in your bed. To get it back into place, you're just lifting that back up, hooking it into the wall. Once that's hooked, allowing that leg to fold down, again, you have yourself another bed, or another table again. 2 recliner chairs. They do sit freely here, so always making sure they're always inside the slide out before you bring the slide out in. That way you're not running the risk of damaging anything. And then of course you do have another fold out bed here too, in case you were to have more guests. Just pulling your little side bolsters out of the way. Take the foot of the couch, pull up and out. Folds down into a bed, pretty simple. Get it back into place. You're just doing the total opposite while kind of assisting the top to fold it back into place. All the blinds, like I said, do work the same way. They just sit where you leave them. Over into your entertainment area. You got your sound bar right down below. Pretty much just like home, minus the fact of A and B speakers. A is interior, B is exterior. Right down below, you got your little fireplace. Power button on the far right. The button beside it is a timer, and it goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours. And then you got your different flame colors you can choose between. And then of course you got your temperature setting. Pushing it twice, you're gonna go into low heat. Pushing it one more time, you get into high heat. Storage all throughout. Now you got your microwave, which is pretty much just like home. Not much I'm gonna show you there. You got your range hood. I always recommend running a range hood whenever you're running your fire stove, because it does run off propane, and because that runs off propane, you got our LP detector right over here near the ground. If that guy ever starts going off, just turn off your main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents just to get it ventilated in here a little bit and some fresh oxygen. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you spray something around it, use your best judgment, but it's typically just that. And whenever you've had the propane system off for a while, it allows air into the system. So sometimes when you get to your campsite, first thing I recommend doing is just flipping the cover back and firing up your stove quickly. That's just the easiest, fastest way to purge things, because if you were to go fire your water heater or your furnace and you haven't purged it yet, it could throw a fault code, because those only do try lighting themselves a few times before they just throw a fault code. I did have the propane system running earlier, so that is why it did fire up so quickly. As you're going to see, you just push the knobs in, turn it over to your desired temperature, and hit the igniter. Whenever you're doing that, whenever you have the gas on, always making sure you hit that igniter every few seconds. That way you have no buildup of gas and minor combustion. Down below, you got your oven. You can turn the light on by pushing down. You also just have the illuminations by pushing up. Whenever you got that down, you're turning it over to your high/pilot option, pushing and holding it in. waiting for the gas to build up a little bit, hitting your spencer every few seconds. As you're going to see, it's not letting anyway. So this is what I mean by sometimes it can take a few seconds to purge everything. And there you go. You got that pilot pushing and holding that in for another few seconds. Once it can hold its own, when you let off the button, you turn it up to your desired temperature and it will fire right on up. Always being careful with this as it is glass. Then we got your fridge, freezer combo. Controls for both are right down below here. Clockwise all the way is its coldest position, coldest setting. Anywhere before that's a warmer setting, and then you do have some off-grid rating here. That's just letting you know the most energy efficient setting to have it on whenever you're running it off battery power. You do have a charcoal filter in the back here, pulling that guy off. That's just to help with fridge odors. If you'd like to get set up with a couple more of these, again, you can just contact the parts department and they can put together a quote for you. Other than that, that is it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.